So now I've got all of this information in the system. I've got all of my registrations coming in, either I'm putting them in manually or coming in from Fox Sports Pulse. I've got all of my fixtures also coming across from Fox Sports Pulse as well, and people are starting to log into the system and update their availability. Now it's crunch time. Now it's time to go and enter in some appointments. There are two ways that we can enter appointments in. We can either do it manually or we can do it automatically, depending on your choice. So the first screen that I'll be explaining is the manual appointments. So we have a few options here that we can choose from. Basically, we can either choose to appoint by competition, appoint by week, or appoint by ground. We have a new piece of functionality that's been added into the system called the Appointments Matrix, and we also have the ability to bulk lock fixtures. The first screen that I'll explain is appoint by competition. This brings up a series of drop-down boxes that you can choose from to select a competition that you want to do your appointments for. So for example, I select the league that I want to do my appointments for, Eastern Footy League, season, select the competition. So these are all of the competitions that relate to my league. And then I can either choose all rounds or select an individual round. I'm just going to choose all rounds, click show fixtures, and that's going to bring up all of the fixtures for 2013. So I can just scroll down to the ones that I want to do. In this case, here's one I prepared earlier. I can just click on the appointments link next to that fixture, and it's going to bring up all of the appointments that have been made. So on the left hand side are the people who have been appointed to this match, and then on the right hand side I've got all of my panels and lists of people that I can go and choose from. So on the left hand side here I've got already 6 people appointed to this match and the roles that they'll be playing. So this is of course an Aussie rules match. I've got 2 field umpires, 2 boundary umpires and 2 goal umpires. The green icons next to their name here means that they've received and responded and confirmed their appointment. If they haven't provided a response, they'd be in orange. If they declined, they'd be in red. It's just an indication of their response. But more importantly, on the right hand side here I've got a list of all of the people who are available for appointment from a particular list. So I've got 2 options up the top here. I've got my selected panel. This is where all your panels come together. Now when I was talking about panel management, there are 2 kinds of panels, built-in and custom. Here are all my built-in panels and here are my 3 custom ones. So this is a Division 1 match. I might want to go and select from my Division 1 umpires, and it's going to bring up a much smaller list for me to choose from as opposed to all 450 odd people that I might have registered. I can also appoint someone to a different discipline as to what they might be registered for. So for example, I can take a goal umpire and appoint him as a field umpire or vice versa. And the reason that we have that flexibility in the system is because from time to time you may want to allow people to officiate cross-discipline in order to fill numbers. We find that's quite a common occurrence, especially in Aussie rules at the grassroots leagues. So we have that functionality there for flexibility. When you update these 2 fields, so the panel and the discipline, they are saved to your session. Not your session on your browser, to your session in your login. So you can go from one computer to another and not have to change these panels. So for example, if it's just your job to appoint goal umpires, you may never actually select that field because you'll always select goal umpire. It'll always remember that because it's based on your login. So if I want to appoint someone as a goal umpire, click on appoint. It'll then move him across to the left hand side. So I can see that Charles has now been appointed as a goal umpire. He is now marked as already appointed. What Schedula has done is it's done a check to make sure that this person has not been appointed to any other game that's occurring at the same time. If I went into another match that occurred on Saturday, February 15th at 2:10 and I tried to appoint Charles, I'd get this message, already appointed. You can't appoint someone to a game that occurs at the same time. That makes sense. One person cannot officiate 2 matches at the same time. So if a person physically can't do it, you then can't logically do it in Schedula. To remove a person, I can just simply click on remove and it'll strike them off the list. If I want to change a person's role, I can do that without having to remove and then add back in. I can have as many people as I want appointed to this match. So for example, if I go into my senior field list, go to field, I do also have the option to filter out only those who are available, so I can just filter out all of those people who are unavailable. You'll notice also too that this colouring next to a person's name indicates whether they're available or not. So Nicholas, for example, here has got a red bar next to him, means that he's unavailable, but I do have the option to appoint him anyway. Because if I go, Nicholas is unavailable for this match, I might give him a quick ring. Hey Nicholas, you're marked as unavailable. Can you do this match? No, I can't do this match. All right, then I won't appoint you. Or if you do know that he's available, then you can appoint him anyway. Now it really depends on how you want to choose to use that. If you know someone's available, instead of having to click back out of Schedula, go into their profile, update their availability, click back in here, you can just appoint him anyway. Or the other way you can use it is to actually trust what Schedula says and says, righto, Nicholas is not available, I'm not going to appoint him. He had the opportunity to update the availability within Schedula. He either should have done it or didn't do it in time, so either he doesn't get a match. However you choose to use it, however you choose to enforce that is completely up to you. Whatever option you choose, Schedula has that flexibility for you to use, right? So I'm just going to say I'm going to appoint 2 more field umpires because I can, and then they get added into the system. I can also go and update or go straight into someone's profile. So from this screen I can click show profile for that person. It will come up and it will show me their profile, which is the same screen as I demonstrated earlier. And then I can also go and view the previous appointments for that person. If I want to know, hey, where has this person officiated previously, you can click on their name and it'll take me into the appropriate profile section for their previous appointments. The last button here is recalculate availability. So as I mentioned, if you go and update someone's availability for them, and what you would need to do is, as you click back into this screen, to recalculate the availability, just to refresh the page basically. It saves you having to either discard your work, save your work temporarily and then come back in. It's just a convenient way to refresh the information. So this is probably the most used screen within Schedula. It brings together all of the panels that we've spoken about, all of the registrations, and actually makes that link between people who are registered as officials and the actual fixtures in the database. So once I'm done, I can click on Save and Close. Now if this fixture is published, i.e. if it's within the publication time of the organisation, email notifications will be sent instantly. If it's outside of the appointment notification period, i.e. if you're doing your appointments 2 or 3 weeks in advance, then these appointments will just simply save in the database. No communication will occur until that trigger point, which by default is Tuesday 3 p.m, but can be at whatever time you want, as defined when you're setting Schedula up. So I'm happy with these. Click on Save and Close, and then that'll lock them in the system. So now they're there, they'll sit there until such time as Schedula publishes those appointments for those people. So this is the screen that I use for my competitions. I also have the option to go and do by week. So if I select appoint by week, it's a very similar screen, but instead of selecting the competition, I select a week. So I can select an individual week, show fixtures, so it'll bring up all of the fixtures for that given week across all of my competitions. It's just a different way to get into that screen that we just saw. Click on appointments, takes me into that same screen. And then the last one is appoint by ground, where I can go and see or select an individual ground. So this screen comes in handy if you want to appoint someone back to back at a ground. So if you want to appoint someone either from a reserves to a seniors match back to back at the same ground, instead of having to click out, select a different competition, find the match, click it, you can just use this screen and go, righto, I want to put this person back to back at the same ground. You'll notice that a lot of these fixtures here have got this little lock symbol next to them. This means that the appointments within the system cannot be changed, and it was locked, and the reason that we lock them is to validate and make sure that the data for payments is valid. In order for anyone to get paid from Schedula, a fixture must be locked. Locking a fixture effectively confirms that the appointments that are in the system are the ones that actually occurred on that day. So for example, you might go and do your appointments, set the Saturday or Sunday or whenever the fixture occurs. There might be a change to that, either someone didn't show up or you had to make a late change and didn't quite get it into Schedula quick enough. What you would then do is post-match, go and update Schedula to make sure that all of the appointments are right, and then once they are right, you lock the fixture, and then that locked fixture and those people appointed to that fixture are then available to be paid. I'll explain the payment reports as I move into the report section, but just keep in mind that if you wish for people to be able to be paid, they need to have the fixture that they were appointed in locked, and that's a function that the coach does or an administrative person does after the game has occurred. Depending on the league, some leagues are pretty good, others are pretty bad. It's sort of a bit of a mixed bag across all sports. The Eastern Football League's not too bad, but then there are some leagues where 30% of the appointments might have to change, which is a bit of a manual overhead at the moment. We don't have a better way to do it yet. There might be an idea out there that we're not aware of, but yeah, making sure that the fixture is locked in order for people to get paid is very important. Now that I've got all these appointments in there and I've got so many fixtures, having to lock individual games might be quite tedious. So I do have the option to either lock games individually, or if I know that all of my appointments in the system are correct and I just want to lock them all, there is a bulk lock function that I can use. So I can click on this bulk lock fixtures and it'll come up with the week that I want to select or lock my fixtures for. I'll say 2013, week, whatever, select fixtures. It'll bring up in the same screen as the appoint by week screen all of the fixtures for that week. I then select individually which ones I want to lock, or press select all, press bulk lock, and then that locks them in there. There's no way that you can unlock a fixture once it's locked. The only way that you can do it is to log a support request. We need to make sure in the back end that fixture has not been paid. If it has been paid, there needs to be some work done in order to undo that and track that. If it hasn't been processed, well, it's a very simple task. So you just keep in mind that you cannot unlock a fixture once it's locked, which is why it's very important. You need to make sure that the appointments in Schedula are correct before you lock your fixture. Now, the last way that you can manually enter appointments into the system is to use this appointments matrix function that we have. We still find that a lot of people use Excel when they're going and entering appointments in or coming up with appointments, and then they transcribe that information from Excel into Schedula. That's a lot of double handling that we don't like to see. So the idea with the appointments matrix is that it's tried to emulate an Excel style approach to appointments. It represents in a series of rows and columns who is appointed to what match and what role that they play. So on the left hand side, I've got people who are from a particular panel. So here are my panels. Again, I've got all my built-in ones and my custom ones and all the people who are members of those panels. And then on the right hand side, I've got my appointments, and this is just filtered out in a nice rows and columns approach. So I can go and see who's a field umpire, boundary umpire, goal umpire, any emergencies, or whatever type it might be, either a referee or assistant referee or whatever the case is, depending on whatever the sport is. In order to appoint someone, it's very simple, right? I can just click on a person's name, drag them across into the spot that I want to appoint them for, and it's as simple as that. To be able to remove someone, I can just click on a person's name, drag over to remove, and they've been removed. So I can go and do this for as many people as I want. I can appoint people from my field umpire panel to a boundary umpire slot, and then once I'm happy with all the appointments that I've done, I can then go and click on Save Matrix. Now what that will do is it'll take all of the information that's on this screen, it'll try and commit it to the database, and if there are any errors in this matrix, i.e. if people are not available or if people are appointed to 2 games at the same time, Schedula will come up with an error message. Now I've just randomly appointed people here. I do want to save the appointments, yes. Let's see if I get any error messages. It's thinking. Maybe I won't. Maybe I got lucky this time. So the idea with the appointments matrix, as I said, is to try and avoid this double handling of appointments within the system. So within your process of appointing. So to not take out or to take out Excel as an option for appointing, to use this functionality straight away. Looks like that's saved. Would have got an error message by now. No, it's still loading. This is my dev system, so it may take a little longer, but you get the idea. If the appointments matrix were to come back and say there was an error, you would see, you couldn't miss it. It'd be a big red box around here to say that there was an error in saving the appointments. I know it did save, so there were no errors. It just took a little longer than expected. Okay. I can also choose to filter out different competitions, different weeks, different seasons as well. So I've got a little filter up the top there as well that I can use. So the appointments matrix, as I said, is the idea of the rows and columns approach to appointing. We're finding that more and more people are starting to use this, which is great. It just makes entering your appointments in that little bit easier. So the next piece that I'll talk about is to do your automatic appointments. So Schedula has the functionality to perform appointments automatically, and I'll go through the steps that you need to take in order to use that functionality and the different ways and use cases